In this podcast, we're going to think about ways of using our senses to be mindful with our babies. In particular, we're going to look at using our visual sense in being mindful with our baby. So the senses are a way in for babies to discover and explore their environment and themselves. So babies learn through their senses. At birth, infants possess all their senses and they become highly developed very quickly. Babies are very curious about their environment. Their sensory capacities allow them to follow the behaviours of others in great detail and at times imitate them. Babies need their parents to sensitively support their discoveries about themselves, others and the world through their senses and to use interactions to help enhance their development. This can become part of your mindful practice. So let's think a bit more about how we can use our visual sense in connecting and being mindful with our baby. So last week we thought about and explored ways to connect our body and breath awareness with our babies, and we looked at ways of being mindful to notice, observe and watch our babies' bodies and breaths, and this involved looking at them in a mindful way to notice so we could connect with them. We now want to extend this approach of mindfulness and using sight as the predominant sense, and we will start by thinking about this idea of mutual gaze with our babies. We know that babies love to look at faces. Minutes after birth, a baby can focus on a face and imitate expression. Babies seek and prefer to look at faces than any other object, and they can hold a gaze for long periods of time. Mutual gaze is a powerful way to hold each other and communicate. Have a think about times when mutual gaze is strong between you and your baby. Mutual gaze is often intense during feeding as mother and baby literally drink each other in. This can be a powerful bonding experience for many mothers and babies and fathers when bottle feeding and contributes to the emerging love affair between parent and baby. So there are very good reasons to spend time gazing at your baby, but also be mindful of how you gaze at him. In terms of social-emotional development, a parent's face acts as a mirror for their baby. The baby associates the mother's face and her expression with her own emotional experience. Thus, the mother provides a reflection back to her baby of her baby's experience. When you act as a mirror and imitate your baby's state, your baby sees in your expression her own self-state. Your mirror function is an essential component in assisting your baby develop her own sense of self and her self-representation. That is, gazing at your baby helps him to get to know himself through the reflection that you give back to him. So let me say some more about this mutual gaze and the importance of you acting as this mirror. When your baby looks at you and you respond appropriately by imitating and reflecting back her emotional state, her existence is confirmed because she knows she's seen. Over time, this leads her to feel that she exists separately as a person and strengthens her sense of self. She is seen by you in a way that makes her feel she exists. Babies search for a face that can reflect their emotional state, where they're at, and their own sense of self. Providing a reflection to your baby helps him to create symbolic representations of emotional states, or an inner emotional world. This helps him later to be in touch with his own emotional states and internal world. It also helps in the present to help him organise and make sense of his feelings in the here and now. Reflection needs to be accurate. Baby's emotional experience and parents' reflection need to be congruent. This often happens quite naturally, but sometimes we might struggle to respond to our baby in an accurate and responsive way, particularly when we're overly tired, feeling overwhelmed, have not had adequate time out for ourselves to replenish, feel we cannot continue to give back because we're depleted ourselves, or when we are preoccupied and our minds are full of other things, worries or concerns, and we therefore don't have enough space in our minds at that time to reflect back to our baby in an accurate and responsive way. Babies feel more securely attached to you if they have enough of your attention. These are the times when being aware and mindful may help. Now, we don't need to get it perfectly right every time, only a good enough amount of the time and only a good enough resemblance of the baby's state. We'll talk more about this idea of good enough parenting at a later time, but it's enough to know now that the research is very clear. Our babies do not need perfect parents, just good enough parents. who are willing to be with them and be curious with them as they work out what's going on in this world around them. Again, this points to the helpful component of being able to read your baby's cues, behaviours, facial expressions, vocalisations, and states of alertness. Picking up on these cues accurately can assist us in reflecting back accurately, in a good enough sense, a good enough amount of the time, and help our babies make sense of their world around them. Okay, that's where this podcast ends, but what I'd like you to do now is to spend a minute or two trying to get your baby to look at you. I want you to spend some time really gazing at him or her with an open and curious mind, and be patient and wait for that mutual gaze to come back to you. Imitate their expression as a way of mirroring back who she is and her emotional state, and try to do this in a mindful way, with not making any judgments and taking up that position of curiosity and noticing. And have some fun with it.